Welcome to Brighteon Broadcast News for Friday, May 5th, 2023. I'm Mike Adams. Thank you for joining me here today. We've got two amazing guests lined up for you. It's going to be a great show. We have joining us in studio will be Bill Holter. He's, of course, a gold and silver retailer, and he's a fellow Texan. And he's, of course, well into preparedness strategies. And he, like myself, he believes that society is in a state of accelerating collapse, and that we're going to be facing some real crazy times here, probably some mob violence out there, some desperate, starving people. And what can you do to survive all of that? Well, we'll get some answers from Bill Holter right here in studio coming up in just a few minutes. And then following that, we have an interview with Dr. Tao Braun. And Dr. Braun has some new information to share with us about the spike protein and how he believes this has been engineered to actually to cancel out the excitability of the human race in order to just try to keep people, tranquilo, as they say in Espanol, keep everybody tranquilo while they destroy the world around you, while they crash the banking system, while they destroy the food supply, while they mutilate your children. You're just supposed to stay calm and compliant this entire time. Well, is the spike protein actually causing neurophysiological changes that translate into behavior changes? And Dr. Tao Braun says the answer is yes. So he'll be joining us to explain all of that coming up here shortly. Now, two things I want to mention actually before we get to the interviews. Number one, the banks are collapsing. It's more rapid than we even feared. And it's no longer theoretical. So any of the people out there that were, naysayers, like, you can't talk, nothing's collapsing, it's all going to be fine. Yeah, guess what? It's not fine. Not fine anymore. It is collapsing. And more banks are going bankrupt every day in America, it seems, or every few days, every couple of weeks. We're going to have some more bank failures coming up. So that begs the question, where is your money safe? And actually, the answer is not even about which bank is it in. In my opinion, your money's not safe if it's in the dollar, because the dollar is losing value. But I mean, that's a bigger topic. But I just want to encourage you, stay tuned, be alert to the collapses that are happening, and follow my advice from a couple of days ago where I said, remember the homework assignment I gave everybody? I said, there are certain things that you have to do to be financially nimble. You need to open up, 3 or 4 bank accounts at different banks. You need to know how to wire in and out, how to transfer money from bank to bank. You need to have a relationship with a gold and silver retailer. You need to have a crypto wallet on your computer. You need to know how to use crypto, how to buy and sell crypto, how to translate fiat into crypto. All those things, remember that? Just let this be your reminder that those are really critical things to do. And I know a lot of people are going into, let's say, 30-day treasuries right now because they think, well, the treasury is not going to go bust. Gosh, I hope not, because that would truly be the end of the United States of America. But is 30 days, in my view, 30 days is too far out to be able to move quickly. If things start to crater, I want you to be able to move your assets in 2 days. Or maybe even same day, not 30 days. So be very cautious about locking up assets with the Treasury for 30 days. 30 days might be, 28 days too late or something like that, based on what's happening right now. Now, the second topic actually is part of this. It's the drone attack on the Kremlin from a few days ago that Russia says was carried out with the help of the United States. The United States says it wasn't us, which is the same thing they said on Nord Stream, by the way, the Nord Stream pipeline demolition. And then Ukraine says, oh, it wasn't us either. Well, gosh, who was it? I mean, it's like there's 3 kids in a room, the cookie jar has been raided, and one kid has his hands behind his back and crumbs on his lips. And he's like, it wasn't me. Pretty much it was you. Yeah, you raided the cookie jar. The U.S. is trying to assassinate Putin, and the U.S. blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. And yes, Ukraine has been recruited to help in this process, but the important thing to understand is that I believe the United States is trying to provoke Russia into a nuclear attack against the West. And if you look at the recent talk from Medvedev, the former Russian president, and he's saying, based on this drone attack attempt on Putin and the Kremlin, that he's saying that Russia should nuke Western nations. We are now very, very close to the lunatics in charge of the United States and the United Kingdom and Germany and so on actually succeeding in their goal to push us into a nuclear war. And we saw recently in Houston, the FBI and a bunch of government officials running nuclear strike drills to prepare for an actual nuclear strike on the United States of America. We could be, at any moment right now, we could be hours or days or maybe just weeks away from a nuclear exchange. And again, this appears to be what the Biden regime wants to achieve. This is what Obama wants to achieve, I believe. This is what the America haters want to bring about. They want America destroyed, but they want Putin to press the button. They want to blame Putin for pulling the trigger, even though the effect would be the destruction of the United States of America and most of Western Europe. Now, because of this, you need to understand that you are living under a tyrannical regime that is prepared to mass murder maybe 100 million people in order to bring down this country. And if they're willing to do that, there's nothing else that they won't be willing to do. They're willing to censor you. They're willing to confiscate your money. They're willing to mutilate your children. They're willing to do anything. They're willing to kill you if it achieves their goals. And so in this process, anybody who still trusts the establishment is a fool. If you trust what Janet Yellen says about the stability of the banks, you're a fool. If you trust what the government says about the safety of the vaccine, you're a fool. Right? If you trust what the Associated Press prints about anything, you're an idiot. Or what the governments of Europe, Western Europe, are saying about the conflict with Russia. If you trust anything from Western institutions, you're a fool. And that trust will cause you to miss the opportunities to be prepared to survive and navigate everything that's coming. So what if the United States is actually hit by a nuclear weapon? Russia has the capability to do that, and there are no defenses that can stop a hypersonic missile, which can carry nuclear warheads, by the way, and hyperglide vehicles, re-entry vehicles from Russian ICBMs. The U.S. has no way to stop that. Well, what happens if a nuclear strike actually takes place? Well, yes, immediately you would get a total collapse probably of the banking system. You would get immediate emergency declarations. But you would also have this tyranny coming down. Military in the streets. Gun confiscation probably across the board. For whatever reason, they would just say, well, we're in a war, we got to take your guns. And a lot of people would go along with that. Not most, I think, but a lot of people would. They want the emergency to take away your liberty and to line you up for mass extermination. They want a pandemic along with this to throw you into the concentration camps, the pandemic camps, the death camps. They want a nuclear war in order to declare an end to the 2024 election. They don't want any more elections to take place in America because they're terrified that the American people might show up in such overwhelming numbers that the Democrats can't even rig it anymore. So they need a massive emergency. They need a world war. They need nuclear weapons. They need a biological weapons attack. They need another pandemic. They need a banking crisis. They need all these things, and they are creating them. So when you look at what's happening in the world around you, do not think that these are accidents. Do not think that these are bad luck. Oh, why are all these horrible things happening at the same time? My gosh. All these food processing facilities just happen to have explosions. Whoa, what's going on with that? While the energy grid is being, hammered with regulations and more, while we're about to enter World War III, while the dollar's losing value, while inflation is hitting grocery store prices, and all of this is happening at the same time, not a coincidence. It's all a design, and it's designed to bring down the United States of America, which none of us want to see happen. We want our country back from the hands of the tyrants and the lunatics and the perverts and the freaks who currently run it. And the only way we're going to get there is to support each other. And that's why I love this book, by the way, the Great Patriot book here. Nikki Ballou talked about this. List a bunch of companies that are pro-America. We're listed in here. He has an updated edition of this. They've had to remove Fox News and Anheuser-Busch. The Bud Light freaks. They're no longer welcome in the Great Patriot book. But we have to support each other. And that's why here at healthrangerstore.com, we just made that donation earlier this week, $155,000 worth of food and supplements that's going to the food banks and the soup kitchens and the ministries here in America. And that's something that we repeatedly do. We've given out over a dozen major donations over the years. And I want to give you a little prelude right now. I have been handed a check for $500,000 and given the responsibility to distribute that $500,000 to other people in the independent media space and the pro-freedom, pro-patriot space who are doing outstanding work. That money, I'm going to just double check with the donor to make sure that he's okay with his name being mentioned. But I want to give him credit, but let me check with him. I also want to respect his privacy. But he literally wrote a check for $500,000. And I can tell you right now that donations of $20,000 to $25,000, some of them maybe only $10,000, depends on the group, those donations are about to go out to a lot of people whose names you know. People who are patriots, people who are pro-America, pro-human, people working in independent media, a lot of amazing websites, people doing excellent work. For example, I can assure you that one of those donations is going to SGT Report. Sean there, I talked with him the other day to tell him about that. The full list of names will be released. And there's going to be a lot of people out there very grateful for receiving this kind of funding, because this donor stepped up and literally wrote a $500,000 check. And I'm honored that he chose me to be the intermediary of this money, because he trusted my judgment about who else really needs support in this space. Because the economic, the deplatforming, the demonetization has been severe. I know that my company is on a blacklist among financial institutions, and we've been deplatformed by PayPal, for example, and other financial organizations. We're literally on a blacklist. Think about that. And so are other people. Many of us in this space cannot engage in day-to-day banking activities because of these blacklists, some of which have been carried out by JP Morgan, by the way, which is one of the most evil financial institutions in the history of money, which says something right there. But thanks to your support and thanks to people like this donor, whose name I will reveal with his permission, we're going to get some funds to people who desperately need it right now to continue this fight for humanity. And we need your support as well, more than ever, because we have a lot of new costs. We're rolling out Brighteon University. By the way, the program coming up, let me mention May 13th. So about a week away, we're launching Fluoride Poison on Tap. That documentary will be rolled out. So just go to brightu.com, that's the letter U, brightu.com, and register, and you can watch that documentary for free. And it's a multi-part documentary. But we're spending a small fortune on bandwidth on Brighteon.com, Brighteon.tv, Brighteon Radio, and the new Brighteon University. We move, petabytes every month, petabytes. Not like the Democrats' pedo-bytes. When Democrats access the internet, their bandwidth is measured in pedo-bytes. But when we do it, because we of course oppose the pedophiles and groomers, it's petabytes, which is 1,000 times larger than a terabyte, by the way. But we're spending a fortune on the bandwidth in order to keep educating people about what's actually happening and help people get prepared. You can help us, healthrangerstore.com. I've got some products and some new products on my desk today. Check out our colloidal silver mouthwash products. They're incredibly effective. The ingredients are really, really remarkable. Seriously, check it out on our website, healthrangerstore.com. We've got many different varieties of colloidal silver mouthwash, different flavors. Here's a cinnamon. We have that's the fresh citrus. We also have this sage. Here it is, rosemary and sage. These are very popular products, and believe me, your mouth will feel incredibly fresh. And oral health is absolutely critical for your overall holistic health. And I go through these like crazy because I'm rinsing my mouth. I'm gargling with this every night before I go to bed, and then every morning when I wake up. And it's just become a really refreshing part of my own routine. But you can support us with that. And also in the middle there, we have our Bugs Away spray. This will keep the bugs off of you. It uses just essential oils, no toxic synthetic chemicals like DEET or anything like that. Now, you'll probably need to use more of this than you would toxic DEET, but then again, this stuff doesn't give you cancer and destroy your immune system. So it'll keep bugs off you. It smells wonderful. I mean, you can even spray it around as an air freshener. It actually smells that good. It's good stuff. And this is the time of the year to use it. So check all that out at healthrangerstore.com. We thank you for your support. You're keeping us going so that we can keep going for Team Humanity. And that is our goal right now, just to stay on air, continue expanding with our educational channel like Brighteon University, keep bringing you the news and the interviews each day that really matter, and then bring you the world's cleanest food, supplements, personal care products, body care, these types of products that we manufacture, that we fulfill out of our warehouse in Texas. And we formulate most of these ourselves. Not every single product, but most of them we formulate ourselves. And we do the lab testing, of course, as you know. So we thank you for your support. Now, with all that said, then, let's just jump into the first interview. I'll be welcoming Bill Holter here in studio, joining me right here, actually. And we got a place for his dog to hang out. So I look forward to meeting his dog. And maybe we can get her up on the table here and show you his dog as well. That would be fun. But even with or without the dog, Bill Holter himself is a fascinating individual to talk to. And he's going to give us his best analysis right now of what's happening in the world and what it means for you, how you can survive it and navigate it. That interview with Bill Holter straight ahead, right here on Brighteon Broadcast News. All right, welcome to today's Brighteon.com interview. I'm Mike Adams, and today joining me in studio is the great Bill Holter from BillHolter.com, and he's a fellow Texan. And welcome back to the studio, Bill. It's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
You've been doing amazing work. I think your analysis is spot on. With the bank failures that are accelerating, you've been proven correct again and again and again. Right now, as you and I are recording this, it looks like 3 or 4 more banks may be going down. Give us your synopsis, if you would, please, of where you think things stand right now today.
There's been talk. I mean, you see Kramer, you see the talking heads saying it's over. It's.
Oh, like the worst, panic is over?
Right. The worst is behind us.
Oh,
and I'm going to tell you, this is jacks for openers. I mean, this is the beginning. The dominoes are starting to fall. And it's funny, just in the last couple of months, my thought process has been, and I know you went through the same thing, for years and years, we talked about where this was going to go. And you took major crap from people left and right. You got trolled. You were called an idiot, tinfoil hat. And you had to explain and back up with analysis, logic, reality, math as to why we were going to get to where we are now. Right. But it was theoretical until recently. Right. And at this point, now people have to prove us incorrect.
Exactly.
That's where we are now.
So, and I just want our viewers to know, you're also a gold and silver retailer.
Right.
And can they find out about that at BillHolter.com?
You can go to my website. There's contact there, or I'll give my email address later. But I clear all my business through Miles Franklin.
Through Miles Franklin, exactly. Yeah, we know all the Miles Franklin folks. And, it's interesting. You no doubt experienced the same surge right after the Silicon Valley Bank that the whole industry got hit. Can you describe what that was like to have the phone nonstop ringing, people wanting to put millions into gold? I mean,
I actually had taken off on Thursday, the day before all this happened.
You're kidding me.
I took off. I was going to take a 5-day break down at the beach, and Thursday night, Friday morning, all of a sudden my phone started blowing up.
Yeah.
And I mean, it blew up to the point where I'm talking to people with my phone on a charger because I had no charge left. I mean, I had never experienced anything. There were some big bumps along the way, but I had never experienced a bump like this where people were just panicked to the point of they didn't even care what form of gold or what form of silver.
Yeah.
They wanted their money out of the bank that day.
Right.
They wanted, send me wire instructions. I want the metal. I want it now, and I want my money out of my account today.
Well,
that's fear.
A recent survey showed that I think maybe close to 60% of the American people do not trust their money in the banks now.
I think the number was 48.
Oh, was it 48?
Came out today, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, maybe it's 48.
Yeah.
But close to half then.
Right.
That's astonishing because, 6 months ago, that number would have been 5% or something.
Or less.
So something dramatically has changed in people's minds about faith in the system or lack of faith.
It's the fact that some banks have already gone down. And I think it's also because the public has been fed so much bullshit that makes no sense whatsoever.
Right.
That even slow people understand now that they have been lied to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, you can't put your finger on one particular thing, but so many people know that there's something not right. They might not know exactly what it is, but they know something's not right. And when it comes to your bank, you got to have confidence. And that's what the whole system is based on, is confidence. So, and it's cracking.
It's cracking in a huge way. But the number of exit routes out of banks, the exit to off-ramp from a bank and get into gold and silver, that's a very narrow doorway that only a very small number of people can actually fit through. Talk to us about the supply and just the infrastructure of gold and silver retail. I mean, it can only serve a small percentage of the American people.
Right. There's actually 2 exits, and one exit leads to a brick wall in the end anyway. The one exit, the first one I'll talk about, and I've told this to CEOs of companies that say, I've got all this working capital in a bank. None of it's insured over $250,000. What do I do? I want to buy some gold. I want to buy some silver. And that's the right thought process. But for a company, you've got to have access to the cash.
Right.
So, I mean, if you put it into gold or you put it into silver, it's kind of clunky.
Right. There's some friction in going back into cash.
Right. It's not easy back and forth. So my suggestion has been do treasuries direct with the U.S. Treasury.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do treasuries through your broker because those treasuries are on your broker's balance sheet. They're not in your name, actually. They're in your broker's name. So if your broker goes down, you're going to be tied up for, who knows, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, who knows.
So you're talking about treasurydirect.gov.
Right.
Yeah.
Direct through the Treasury, and that's still a little clunky. It could take a couple days to move money back and forth.
Yeah. And isn't the shortest term they offer is 30 days, isn't it?
Right. And we can talk about that too.
Yeah.
Because now there's a big spread between 30 days and 60 and 90 days. And there's never been a spread before.
Boy, that tells you something.
Yeah, there's a spread now because everybody's piling into 30 days.
Yes.
And that's dropped the yield. I mean, the spread, I think, last I saw was over 1%. It was like 1.1 or 1.2%.
Wow.
You had this spread that makes no sense at all because it's only 30 days.
Right.
But what companies are doing is they're rolling 30-day paper. They don't want to go out more than the 30 days.
Well, right. And the decision in the minds of the people doing that is at this point, it's more about not losing money. They just want to get their investment back. They almost don't care about the yield, right? At that point.
Yeah, yield is meaningless. It's being done for safety and safety only.
Yes.
They do not want to lose their working capital. Now, it is a game of musical chairs. Can the music stop in the 30 days? Well, of course it can. And the value of the dollar could plummet. And all of a sudden, your business model that worked fine now is upside down, and every widget that you sell, you lose money on.
Right.
Because of the currency change. The other exit, as you mentioned, is gold and silver. And it is a very small door. And we found that out when I did that trade, and I know Andy did another big trade afterwards.
Right.
$50 million basically cleaned up every single silver eagle, every single bag of junk, every half dollar, and every silver dollar in the United States we went to all the dealers.
And that was one buyer.
That was one buyer.
And that was all U.S. Mint coins. That
it was all U.S. Mint
won,
coin.
Right?
Exactly. 27 million cleaned up all the silver.
Wow.
And we crippled the pre-33 gold market with 23 million.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for 4 to 6 weeks after that, it was impossible to find 50 or 100 coins.
I'm still wondering where that person stored all that silver, because that's a pretty bulky amount. You need a big room and you need a big underground bunker for that.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you.
Yeah. You need like a commercial elevator in that
Right.
bunker. That's a lot of silver.
Yep.
But
Well, no,
it's a great investment.
It's a lot of silver, but it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's a ham sandwich. It's nothing.
Compared to what's floating around.
You're talking about a small amount of millions.
Right.
When billions are tossed around on a daily basis.
Yes. Yes.
And the word trillions are now thrown around.
Well, I can't believe that more wealthy people aren't just buying up every last ounce of silver and gold right now.
That's coming very, very soon, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about what's coming. And again, let me just remind people, your website's billholter.com. And I don't know what all you have on there, but I assume other interviews and videos and things.
Yeah, it's very similar to JS Mindset.
Okay.
It's based on the same.
Okay.
Same idea.
Awesome. Great. So you and I think, both believe that this isn't just a cycle we're going through. It's not going back to normal. This is the end of the system as we've known it. Can you speak to where you think this is going to end up? And I know timing is difficult. I'm not asking you for date predictions or anything, but where does this end? Like, currency collapse? The fiat currency goes down. What do we end up with? States declaring their own state currency just to not collapse? Or how does this work?
Yeah, over the years, I've written, done interviews, and talked about where ultimately I thought this was going to end up, and pretty much it's narrowing down, and we're there. You could use the word civil war now. That the country will break up. And when I say break up, you have internal strife.
Yes.
And that's a very real possibility now. If you said it 5 years ago, you're a crazy person. But you can see it now because they've taken this pie and they've divided it between right and left. They've divided it between straight and gay. They've divided it between Christian and non-Christian. They've divided it male and female, the different genders.
Yeah. Right.
They've divided the country in so many different ways now that when the financial system breaks, and it will break based on a loss of confidence, but when the financial system breaks, you very easily could see a period of time, 2 weeks, 2 months, God forbid 6 months, of a period of literally Mad Max. You dial 911 and nobody answers the phone.
Right.
And I've talked about when credit goes down. Credit is based on confidence.
Yeah. When
credit goes down, guess what? Your lights don't work. Your water's not clean. There's no food in the stores. Stores aren't open. There's no gas at gas stations. Nothing runs. The real economy stops when credit stops.
That's right.
So does the financial economy. When credit gets choked to a certain point and confidence breaks, then you have Bank A won't do business with Bank B, who won't do business with Bank C, who won't do business with Bank A, because each one is afraid of who their counterparties, the other counterparties are. So it's all about trust, and when trust breaks down, then you have this, the whole edifice comes down, because 100 years ago, the system was based on or foundationed upon gold and silver.
Mm-hmm.
That was the bedrock, and dollar bills were a derivative of gold,
mm-hmm.
right? Today, the foundation itself is basically the U.S. dollar / U.S. treasuries.
Mm-hmm.
That's the foundation. So what you have is this huge edifice of debt piled on top of a foundation of debt.
Yes.
So
yes.
when the confidence breaks, the whole thing collapses, and the foundation collapses into the ground.
And it seems like too the fractional reserve structure of the system
right.
is incompatible with modern society, where people have their apps and they can move money
right.
in seconds, right? Because back in, let's say in the 1980s, you had to go to the bank and stand in line. There was friction of getting out, and they could just close the doors.
Well, we've had bank runs.
Yeah.
And we have long food lines. You just don't see them because of technology.
That's exactly. But right now, today, we saw how rapid the collapse was of Silicon Valley Bank, because word spread.
Right.
People are connected, and there's social media, Twitter, and whatever. And then people have their apps, and it's so simple to just move it all out, put it all into treasuries, for example.
Right. At the push of a couple buttons.
Exactly. So the fractional reserve system is almost built to fail. It cannot withstand even really the slightest lack of faith in the system when people want their money.
Yeah. Ultimately, when you're saying it was built to fail, that brings my mind back to 1913. When the Federal Reserve,
Jekyll Island and all that.
Jekyll Island, exactly. The system was built to fail. The system was built to become a debt slave to the owners of the Federal Reserve, which we know is not federal nor a reserve. It's owned by 13 families or whatever.
Yeah.
And that is a great book. If people have not read The Creature from Jekyll Island, I would highly recommend reading that. That's a great book.
Yeah, I think a lot of our audience are familiar with that, and they've tracked all that. And I think one of the questions then is, with Powell just raising interest rates another 25 basis points. Yeah. But do you think, are you offering a prediction? Are they going to hold? Is he going to raise it another 25? Or what do you think's coming from the Fed?
If the system doesn't break in 30 to 60 days, they'll raise it again. That's what they're doing.
Really?
I think this is a plan to crash the system.
It's working.
Well, yeah. Just look at what they did. They got the West and the United States, which is the reserve currency. They got the United States over indebted from a federal level, from a corporate level, and from an individual level. And then what do? You raise rates so that the debt can't be rolled over and financed. You put a choke point on new credit. And how do you kill a Ponzi scheme? You stop the new money coming in. So, the system has been a Ponzi scheme for years. And by choking off credit and increasing the cost of credit, now you've shut off the new money coming in. It implodes upon itself. I wrote this. I first started writing in 2007 after I left the country. And in 2007, I wrote that the policies that they were putting in place, and this was leading up to 2008, 2009, the policies that they were putting in place were too stupid. They were just plain too stupid. It had to be planned.
Right.
And I mean, that's where we are now.
Right. There's no way somebody would do this by accident. It's
No
that
way.
crazy.
Not even possible.
And also too, I want to remind our audience that you walk your talk. You are preparing for the type of collapse that you're describing, and so am I. In fact, I want to thank you, Bill, because last time you were here, and is it okay? Can we talk about your dog publicly?
Sure.
Last time you were here, you showed me your dog, beautiful dog, your security dog.
Yep.
And since then, it's people like you and a couple other guys that really inspired me to. I went and trained with a couple different security dogs. I ended up getting one, and he's actually outside right now because your dog is here.
Right.
And
my second dog.
Your second dog.
Right.
And see, you and I both understand the need for security given what's coming.
Yep.
And I don't even have to guess. Of course, you're armed, and you probably noticed some of the hardware I have here. But it's not that we're not violent people. We want to de-escalate violence, but sometimes when the zombie horde is crazy, I mean, we have to defend ourselves and our families and our property.
Yeah, I mean, I'm your typical. I'm not going to say conservative. I'm a libertarian. Mm-hmm. I want to live my life. Leave me alone, and I'm not going to bother you.
Right.
And I mean, I came to the realization. I had a very good friend of mine who bought 2 dogs at one time and told me what he paid for them. And my first response was, "You're a complete idiot."
At first,
right?
And then you realize.
And then I talked over the next week or 2 weeks. I talked to 4 or 5 people that I respect their opinions. And every single one of them said, "Well, if you could afford to do it, why wouldn't you do it?" And the more I'm thinking about it, we're, at my place, if I go down, the whole place goes down.
Right.
So who's got my back?
Right.
And I'm not like I'm 30, 40 years old anymore. I'm 60 years old.
Yeah.
So, you've got to have something watching your back. And there's nothing more loyal than a dog. And if you get a dog and the right type of dog that can back, walk the walk.
Yeah.
Then, it's like walking around with a loaded gun.
I'm so stunned of having my experience with my dog Rhodey, who I'll introduce you to him later, but I'm just astonished at their athleticism, speed. They hear everything, they see everything. Like your dog is actually watching you and us and checking out the mood, right? And I'm not going to raise my voice with you today, Bill, because I love to have all my limbs. And, but the dogs are tuned in. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, they're truly amazing animals.
They really are. But my point in even bringing that up was that you're not just somebody who goes online and talks about stuff, but then it's not an artificial facade. Like you live what you teach.
I have a plan.
Yeah.
And I've tried to put the plan in place. Is it a foolproof plan? Of course not. Have I forgotten some things? Of course I have.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, when this goes down, you're going to be pissed at yourself because you forgot this, you forgot that.
Right.
All you can do is the best you can do with the means that you have.
Yes.
Just do the best that you can do. And don't beat yourself up because you will, without a doubt, have forgotten several things.
Right. What would you say to the people out there right now? Maybe not so many people watching this, but there are, outside of alt media, there are a lot of oblivious people who are still in a state of denial. They have no preparedness plans whatsoever. They believe in the system that is failing them.
What would I tell them?
Well,
don't come to my place.
Yeah, okay. Good answer. But they're going to, right? I mean, they're going to be seeking. They're going to be hordes of unprepared people.
Yeah, this is going to sound really crass. And I think I said this something about 5 or 6 years ago, and I took major shit after the interview.
Oh yeah.
But I really believe it will get to the point, and like I said, maybe 2 weeks, 2 months, God forbid 6 months, but I do believe it will get to the point where you'll need a human head, skull, on a stick at the entrance to your property.
I see, like Predator style.
You understand what a purple fence post is here in Texas.
Yes.
A lot of people don't even know what that is.
Oh, it's a no
but
trespass.
everybody knows what a human head is on a stick.
That's true. That's true.
I apologize, but
no, that's why would anybody criticize that? I mean, you're talking about a specific scenario, a Mad Max collapse scenario. And frankly, there'd be a lot of skulls around at that point, you know? I mean, it's not going to be hard to find one if you just want to put it on a stick, you know? So, I mean, seriously, but I have a hard time dealing with people who are living in this bubble artificial reality where they said all along, well, banks won't collapse, you're just fear-mongering. And then the banks start collapsing. And then they say, well, the big banks won't collapse. It's just the small banks. And then it's more banks collapse.
Right.
They just keep making excuses until the day that they lose everything, you know?
That's without a doubt. So many people are going to be blindsided.
Yeah.
But I made a couple of phone calls last night to buddies of mine, and we've talked about this. And lo and behold, yesterday, I didn't get one, I didn't get two, I got a third email from 3 separate trolls, and probably trolls for 7, 8, 10 years, telling me what an idiot I am, apologizing to me that I was right.
Oh.
Believe that or not.
Whoa.
All in one day.
So you got apologies from former trolls.
Yeah.
And what did they say in the apology? Like, oh, the banks are collapsing?
You were right all along.
Whoa.
I should have listened to you.
Wow.
Which, I mean, it blew me away.
I mean, I don't expect to ever get apologies. that's. I mean, most people never apologize.
I was shocked, but that was the case.
Wow. So, okay, so maybe some percentage of people are realizing what's going on. I mean, obviously, more people are looking at gold now. We're talking about mainstream buyers who previously wouldn't have looked at gold and silver.
Yeah, and some mainstream people with wealth. They would never have looked at it before.
That's interesting.
One of the things you asked me about the demand, one of the things I've noticed is that not so much the amount of customers, although we did have, after SVB, I mean, it was crazy. But just in the last 12 months, the size of the orders have doubled, tripled, quadrupled.
Wow.
The orders are much, much bigger now than they were, say, 3 years ago.
All right, so let's talk to the people who are aware of what's going on. Probably most of our viewers have already purchased some amount of gold and silver. They probably have some means of self-defense. Most of them are, away from the big cities. What should they be thinking about right now in terms of what's coming? Because everybody's got money in the bank. Everybody's got probably a pension or a social security check or something. What do the informed people need to be aware of?
I would say for someone who is truly informed, just try to fine point your plan. Try to shoot your plan down. Try to find out where the flaws are. One way to do that is go home on a Friday, turn the electricity off, turn your water off, and live the weekend with no conveniences.
And see what goes wrong.
Right, exactly. Yeah. See what busts and fix it.
Excellent.
I mean, we had that, for example, we had the freeze a year and a half,
January 2 years of 2021.
Right.
Yeah.
That freeze, I found out where where the choke points were, and I fixed those, and we had a double 12 degree night this year. Back in, January or late December, we went through it fine because everything was fixed. But think about it. Had 2 years ago not happened, and the system goes down,
right,
and we got a freeze and everything blew up, how are you going to fix it?
Yeah. Well, and exactly. And the same thing is true in financial plumbing.
Right.
And let's talk about freezes, because it seems like, after the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, there was a lot of talk among regulators and even in the Treasury of saying, well, the bank runs are the fault of the customers, that they took their money out and therefore we may have to limit that, right? So do you think that withdrawal limits are coming, or there would be bail-ins or bank freezes along the way here?
I would think there will be bail-ins, there will be freezes, there will be withdrawal limits. I would not count anything out. I mean, if anybody said, well, this could happen, I would never say, no, that's not possible.
Right.
Because anything at this point, anything is possible. Just think about, you woke up this morning and then whatever news was out there today. If you told somebody today's top 5 headlines, even 5 years ago, they would laugh at you and call you, a complete idiot.
For sure.
Time for you to go to the mental institution.
Yeah.
I mean, so what's become, I don't want to say commonplace, but what is accepted as normal today would have been idiocracy 5 or 10 years ago.
And now the mental institution has been emptied, and it's the Biden administration now running the country. Yeah. I mean, a bunch of.
Let's spend just a couple minutes on that.
Yeah.
You saw the new Navy's ad, right?
Oh my goodness! Yeah, the drag queen.
What would you feel like if you were in the Navy?
Yeah, I would be extremely pissed off, and there's a lot of Navy SEALs I know who are extremely pissed off right now.
There's a guy from SEAL Team 6.
Yeah.
Did 8 years with SEAL Team 6, went ballistic and went public with it. And, I mean, think about this. We're spending more on our military than the rest of the world put together.
That's right.
And at this point, we're going to send a bunch of fags. I'm sorry, send a hate mail. But,
you need to give out your email address for the proper hate mail.
I will.
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Okay.
No, but, what are we going to send a bunch of fags in skirts to go fight the Chinese?
Queer tank crews.
Yeah, exactly.
Right,
Whatever.
with the battery-powered tanks that the Energy Secretary demands that all the military vehicles have to run on batteries.
Because there's going to be a charging station wherever they need.
Yes, there'll be a charging station in the middle of Ukraine that the Russians will leave alone.
Right.
It's going to be fine. Just recharge your tank. It only takes 47 days. I mean, these people are insane.
Again, these plans are too stupid to be a mistake.
I agree with you.
There's no way, there's not a possibility that these programs, these policies are a mistake. It is the purposeful takedown of the U.S.
M1 Abrams EV.
Yeah.
That World War III ends in 3 minutes because that's how much lithium is in that thing. It is. It's completely insane, but yet it's real also. I mean, we have to deal with the repercussions of this here. We have to deal with, cities here in Texas. We've got cities filled with oblivious liberals: Austin, Dallas-Fort Worth, Houston, El Paso, even San Antonio to some extent. Yeah. In every city, there are oblivious people who are going to become panicked zombie mobs at some point.
It would not surprise me at some point if major metropolitan areas don't get ring-fenced.
Oh, really?
Just a thought.
Wow. By what, the state guard? Or, I mean,
to not let people out.
Yeah, I mean, well, I can definitely see, smaller towns just blocking highways
to keep people out.
To keep people out, exactly. Plus, we can take some of those heads on the sticks and put them on the bridges, and just like little warning signs. Yeah. But I mean, we laugh about this, but it's actually beginning to happen. It's not.
As far as Austin's concerned, I haven't been there, but I understand they have cleaned it up. There's no more homeless camps in Austin.
Is that right? I haven't.
The bridges.
Last time I was there, it was Tent City.
Yeah, I've been to Austin, North Austin, twice, 3 times in the last 3 years, 3.5 years.
Right. Yeah, I stay out of that place too.
Yeah, I was accosted by a tranny.
Oh, really?
Yeah, demanded a cigarette from me because I'm white and I'm rich. And
how did he know that? I mean,
and you owe me a cigarette.
So
that
you
was
had
the last time I was there.
A tranny that wanted to smoke a fag.
Yeah, exactly.
that got to be Austin. Yeah, keep Austin weird. Okay,
but they have cleaned up under the bridges, from what I understand.
Okay, interesting. But
I didn't know that.
But there are going to be people living there again. I mean, let's talk about real estate, because the commercial real estate market now, with the Fed raising rates and people not going back to work, more remote work, and also 70 plus corporations, you saw the news, bankrupt this year, massive bankruptcies across the board. IBM saying we're not going to hire humans for positions that could be taken over by AI. I mean, aren't all the underpasses in every city in America going to be basically inhabited by the new homeless?
I would think so, yeah. And you're talking about real estate. Who made those loans? The banks.
Yeah.
So I mean, the real estate loans, the commercial real estate loans are going to destroy the balance sheets of banks.
Yes.
And it's funny, just in the last probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I've had maybe a dozen different people ask me about, well, what about farmland?
Uh-huh.
What about buying land? Well, yeah, I think it's a good idea if you're going to farm it.
Right.
But understand you're way overpaying for it because the prices of all real estate, whether it be a house, whether it be commercial, raw land, whatever, the prices have elevated, double, triple from what they were back in 2007, 2008.
Yes.
And why is that? Because of credit. And once credit dries up, who are you going to sell it to?
And the credit contraction is now underway. It's accelerating.
Right. It's already started.
And isn't it true that, $1 to $2 trillion, I forgot the number, of commercial real estate loans that are probably going to go bad over the next couple of years? Because, big high-rise buildings.
I think there's 600 or 700 billion that have to be rolled over, refinanced between now and 2025 or the end of 2025.
Okay.
But the point being, you're looking at much higher interest rates now.
Exactly.
Plus,
and lower occupancy.
So look at
where's the value?
Look at the appraisals.
Exactly.
You're not going to be able to roll them over because nobody's going to lend on a building that's 60% occupied when originally the loan was done when it was 92% occupied.
Well said. Yes. And there's not, there's no prospective future where these buildings are suddenly reoccupied by thriving corporations because, look at consumer purchasing behavior is falling off a cliff right now. You've got even microchip companies. Yeah.
Look at San Francisco. The place is imploding.
Yes.
You've got, major, you can't even shop in San Francisco. First, you're going to get beat up or killed or whatever trying to shop. And now the stores are closing left and right.
Right. Well,
all those buildings have debt on them. That's
exactly.
What I'm trying to make.
But along those lines, though, Bill, we've also seen so many retailers now evacuating cities like Seattle and Portland and San Francisco and so on, and they're evacuating. Often they were just leasing those buildings, right?
So the landlords, somebody owes something somewhere.
Exactly. The landlord is holding a building now that's useless because the retailer left it because all the sidewalks around that building are filled with addicts and prostitutes and violent criminals. And their employees can't even come to work without getting accosted by somebody.
Right.
So these inner cities are just going to be economically gutted. And by the way, shoplifting is already legal now in most of these cities.
Up to $1,000.
Up to, right. And where's it going to go when...
That's the credit limit, $1,000.
Yeah, right. But what about when the currency collapses? It's just going to be total mass gutting of anything on any shelf in any of these cities.
Well, here's my biggest concern. When the currency collapses, when credit ceases, when the system implodes and comes to a halt, this is no longer 1930. In 1930, everybody knew who their neighbors were within 2, 3, 5 miles.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody. People were morally better. Society was morally better. You helped people in need. If you were in need, people would help you. Today, if you're in need and you've fallen down on a sidewalk, you're probably going to end up with no shoes. Your wallet's going to be gone. Your chain's going to be taken off of you. You're going to be stripped clean by a bunch of vultures.
Yeah.
That's what concerns me, is that the morality today is the absolute reverse of what it was in 1930 when we went through the last depression.
Well, that's a really good point. And, if you fall down on the sidewalk in San Francisco, they'll steal your stuff and probably poop on your forehead too before you leave, because it's like San Francisco at this point,
another
right?
reason to have a dog.
Yeah.
That way nobody craps on your head.
Yeah, exactly. Or they can attempt it,
right? But
they will be missing an ass cheek or two.
Yeah.
But again, you and I, we have thought through these scenarios for so many years that these are not new thoughts to us. Right. And that's what freaks a lot of people out is they hear this for the first time and they go, what? How can you, why are you so negative? You know, we've all heard that before. Yeah. And the other day, I was interviewing somebody who said, yeah, his friend watches my show, but he gave me the nickname, not Health Ranger, but Death Ranger, because I talked about how many people were going to die. And I'm like, well, you know what? People are dying. They're dying right now, and there's a lot more death coming. I'm not saying we're all going to die. I'm saying if you want to not die, then you need to take these steps.
Right.
I mean, this is about survival, is it not, ultimately?
Yeah, and when you're bringing up people are going to die, people are dying already.
Exactly.
There was a story today of a 12-year-old girl in Arizona,
I saw that.
Player,
yeah,
had a heart attack. She did live. And immediately the newspaper, it just happened. I mean, like, so within 6 hours or 12 hours, the newspaper says, oh, but she had a congenital condition.
Uh-huh.
Really?
Right.
How did they discover that in 12 hours?
Yeah. No, it's always the same covers.
I had over 10 million YouTube views taken down from various sites because when the vaccine originally came out, I said, I'm not a doctor, but I do have some common sense. And the one thing I will say, if you take the vaccine, you are the guinea pig.
Absolutely.
So what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
And YouTube blew that to pieces.
Of course they did.
Greg Hunter had his taken down. I mean,
yeah,
I was his second strike.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there were channels taken down, millions and millions of views of pretty good stuff, of pretty real, real stuff.
No, I know.
Was taken down, from your own site.
Yes. But we were taken down pretty early. Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, you went on with Greg Hunter and they gave his channel a strike. It's like sometimes if I go on somebody's channel, then they get a strike because they had me.
It's you.
Yeah, it's because it's me.
Yeah.
It's like they should call me the Strike Ranger because I will give your channel a strike. But that's what they do. They try to get everybody to not talk to you. Which is why I'm glad to have you here, by the way.
Well, and that's another topic. Censorship.
Yeah. Which I haven't done. I mean, that's why I built Brighteon. So we can have this conversation. We can talk about heads on skulls, man. Exactly. I mean, skulls on sticks. Excuse me. We can talk about forehead turds in San Francisco. Whatever we want. There are no limits to what we can talk about.
Good thing we're not drinking beer.
That would make it even more entertaining, I think. It's like, 5 rounds with Bill Holter,
Yeah.
And his dog.
No, but that's really the censorship that's going on it's like so dangerous.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to lead, but it's not a good place.
No, it's not a good place. I do see a lot of pushback, by the way, happening legally.
Right.
And we're doing some research and some of our attorneys are doing some research. But man, when DHS and the White House tell big tech who to blacklist, and they enforce that, it is blatantly unconstitutional, illegal, violation of civil rights. And they're doing it.
Well, it's not only blatant, but it then makes obvious, if you pull back the curtain, it then makes obvious that they're not on your side.
For sure.
And when I say on your side, I'm talking about the people who use common sense, who have, legit morals, who are Christians. I mean, if you're a Christian, you're a domestic terrorist. Piss on you.
That's what the FBI thinks. If you're a Christian, you're a terrorist. They want to infiltrate the Catholic churches. But another question for you, Bill, then. So all of this censorship and then the false narratives that are catapulted out there by the establishment, it seems to me they are designed, even Janet Yellen saying everything's fine and Jamie Dimon, it's all fine. Yeah, because you're vacuuming up all the banks. But isn't it all designed to just keep people oblivious as long as possible so they don't know? Exactly. Yeah, to that very last moment.
Right.
And then they're
pull
screwed.
The plug and everyone's shocked.
Right.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, it's been propaganda the entire path.
You might get a lot more apologies coming your way on that day. If the phone system works, who knows?
I was going to say, probably not.
Yeah. The trolls won't even be able to email you on that day and apologize because probably the whole system.
I'm not truly not looking forward to.
No, I'm not either. I don't.
That coming, but This is math.
Yeah.
This is
Right.
Well, it's common sense logic, but mostly math. Financially, the system is a Ponzi scheme. All Ponzi schemes eventually fail, and they fail once new money no longer comes in, and that's what they're doing. That's what they're showing you that they're doing. It's going to fail. So this is no longer Mike Adams or Bill Holter's opinion. 12 years ago in 2009, or even before 2007, I was telling people 2008, 2009, I didn't know the timing of it, but I said, it's coming.
Yeah.
And they told me I was nuts, but it was my opinion at that point because things just didn't look right. This is no longer my opinion. This is pure math that the system is untenable. And then you look at geopolitically, Russia understands more than you and I do. China understands more than you and I do. They understand that the United States has been living or using a never pay model for 60, 70 years. Globally.
Yeah.
In other words, they send us products,
Right.
and we send them pieces of paper, dollars.
Yeah. What an incredible deal.
Yeah, it's a great deal. It costs us nothing.
Yeah.
Our standard of living is many multiples what it should be.
That's what people don't understand.
Right.
That's why I tell people things like, you should go buy, clothespins
Right.
right now because they're pennies. One day they're going to be dollars
because
or
they're
something.
available.
Because they're available, and we have these global supply chains that are still partially functioning right now. And you think about the little things you need, even like first aid bandages, right?
Yep.
You can get bandages for pennies. That's not going to last, or even let's say an oil filter for your tractor, right? Right now, oil filter, $15. Try to get it 3 years from now.
You might not be able to get one that even fits.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's something. We live in Texas. I have several air conditioning units on my property. I went out and I bought enough parts to completely rebuild 2 of those AC units.
That's smart.
I have 2 water wells. I have enough parts to completely rebuild 1 of the 2 water wells.
The pump, the whole pump
The
in
pump.
the well. Yeah.
The pump,
The piping and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really smart. I'm the same way.
Well, when I did it, I'm thinking to myself, I don't care what it costs because at least I can get it.
Right.
And at some point in time, I'm not going to be able to get it. And then 3 months later, and actually the air conditioning parts took me 3 months, 4 months to get.
Even now.
But I had already paid for them, had already locked the price in.
Yeah.
And the guy said to me 3 or 4 months later, when I got the parts, he goes, man, you made a great decision. He goes, these things are already 40%. Everything costs 40% more.
Right.
So, but you should, and I'm just saying this to your audience, go through the things that you might need in the next year or 2 years. How about a car battery if your battery goes dead?
Absolutely.
How about 4 tires?
Right.
How about, like you said, Band-Aids or a very good
First aid
kit.
Yeah, skin
exactly.
staplers, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Super glue.
Exactly. After I told you
That stuff works, man.
Yeah, my dog got cut. I had to stitch him. Folks, it was an innocent accident. He ran into a stick. Unfortunately, it didn't have a skull on it at the time.
Yeah,
but
super glue's an old trick.
Super glue. In fact, 3M sells a super glue product for dogs. It's called like vet something. It's just super glue.
Yeah, we used to
put skin together.
I played hockey. We used it on our faces.
Exactly.
I super glued my eyebrow together.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you don't have. But I also bought skin staplers.
Look how good I look now.
Yes, clearly it worked. But you're exactly right. I mean, all these things are dirt cheap and they're very available right now. And then if people are putting away some gold and silver at the same time, the purchasing power of that gold and silver, in the worst case, will preserve itself. But more likely, it's going to purchase more down the road.
More likely, if you have gold and silver in the next system, and I'm not talking about the CBDC
Yeah.
first reset, the second reset. I don't know, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, I don't know how long it's going to take to get to the next system.
Yeah.
But if you own gold and silver, you will be a bank.
What do you mean?
Remember, we talked about 100 years ago, gold was the foundation, and dollars were issued off the gold.
Yeah.
Think about yourself and it's obviously you don't want people to know you have gold or silver,
Right.
but you will have capital where everyone else is not going to have capital. So a banking system's got to be funded by something, right?
Right. So are you saying that
you will become a major shareholder of your local bank? Because your local bank is funded with gold or silver or whatever.
And they will demand, they will need gold and silver to back up whatever currency is being issued at the time. And okay, we're both in Texas. Well, maybe the state of Texas, right, they have the depository. Yeah. Maybe one day you drive, I don't know, a truckload of silver to the depository, you deposit that, and they give you Texas bucks credits that are millions of dollars worth of Texas bucks because they need the silver.
Right.
And now the Texas bucks you can use in the Texas economy.
Right.
That makes sense. States had better be thinking about this.
Well, there are states, that are making. There's quite a few states that are making gold and silver legal tender.
Right, like Wyoming, I know, has done that. And has Tennessee done that?
I think it's in their Congress.
Okay. Yeah.
I think there's 19 states altogether.
That's amazing.
That either have done it or are in the works currently.
Does your dog ever go on camera? Does she?
Yeah.
Would she be cool? You want to bring her up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, good girl. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, that's great. My audience is going to love this.
Yeah, you shouldn't show the slipping around part.
No, that's okay. This is kind of slick, yeah. But hi, girl. This is awesome. Yeah. Oh, she got the microphone going. Yeah. That's awesome.
Come on.
Okay. Good, she did it. Yeah, I can't wait for you to meet my dog too. Yeah. See, this is a dog-friendly studio, folks. We are all set up. So, if any of you out there, if you mess with Bill, it is. It's definitely slick. Yeah. So if you mess with Bill, that's what you're going to get to. That's going to be all over you instead of on the desk. And if you thought surviving San Francisco was bad, try hand-to-hand combat with one of these dogs. What breed is she again?
She's a Dutch Shepherd.
Wow. Man, it's so impressive. And she's so alert and just
still a baby. She's only 16 months
That's
old.
Amazing. So you're still training her every week, or what do you do?
I take her with my horse every day.
Okay. That's great. Do you do bite work with her then? You have somebody come out with a suit?
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Okay.
She bit through a Kevlar suit, broke the skin. The guy said it had been 3 or 4 years since he had skin broken through a suit.
Wow. That's some serious jaw power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and you have extra water for her in your car. I assume. Okay. She might get thirsty after all this stuff. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, I have, the dog mattress there. I've got a kennel back there if we ever need it. I've got water bowls and such. Dog-friendly studio. Probably the first one.
First one I've been to.
There you go. See? Dog-friendly studio. Also gold and silver friendly and plenty of firearms. This is the right place for you, Bill. But look, I don't mean to get too tangential here, but I do like to have a little fun with you. But getting back to the core issue here, and also respecting your time, how do we need to kind of encapsulate our conversation today? What's the most important takeaway?
The most important takeaway would be trust your gut. When I say trust your gut, you either know something's not right.
Let me get this a little closer to you.
Yeah, you either know something's not quite right and you don't know exactly what it is, or you know what it is. You know something's not right, trust your gut and do the best you can as fast as you can to come up to speed and to come up, to have a workable plan.
Yeah. So by trust your gut, does that also mean, don't trust the authorities? They're lying to us all the time. Maybe that's by default, but trust your gut even in the face of like all this social pressure to conform, or?
Well, it's pretty easy to decipher. To this point, it's been very easy to decipher what's true and what's not true based on who's telling you.
Yeah, true, right.
If mainstream media is telling you the same thing that government's telling you, it's bullshit.
It's a lie.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, this is, and I've just started saying this on writing and interviews in the last month or so, we're coming into a dangerous time because of AI.
Oh, yeah, right.
You're not going to be able to trust your own eyes. You're going to see stuff on the TV that is complete fabrication.
Yes.
That's going to ratchet up the difficulty in figuring out what's real and what's not real, what's true and what's not true.
But the governments and the tech giants will, of course, exploit that. I think they already have in some cases, to continue to create this artificial reality and try to get you to buy into it.
Correct.
With fake accounts, fake newscasters. But by the way, do these newscasters realize they're already obsolete? Because it's just going to be a CGI avatar reading the scripted CIA.
Well, they already were.
Yeah.
How many videos have you seen where they have 53 different news announcers that say exactly the same thing?
Yeah, but they were still human at that point.
Yeah, they actually collected a paycheck, but now they're not going to be human, right?
They won't even be needed by the system. Right. They'll just be generated avatars. And social media, it could be 98% AI, CIA-controlled AI voices telling you how great it is to groom children or whatever.
The futuristic movies that we saw when we were younger, they've arrived.
Yeah. Right.
Unfortunately.
They have.
They've arrived, and it's satanic. It's bad shit. It's bad. It's just, it's evil.
I completely agree with you. Okay, a couple of things. Let's give out your website one more time. BillHolter.com is the site. And you promised to give an email where trolls can reach you.
Yeah, if you do want to reach my business email, it's bholter@hotmail.com.
Oh. Hotmail's still around?
Yeah.
Is it? Does Microsoft own that now? Or I think Microsoft. They bought that. Yeah. Okay, Hotmail.
I've just had it for 12 years or whatever.
Right. Well,
I use that for business only. So
okay, great. So bholter@hotmail.com.
Yeah.
Okay, and then can you help people acquire gold and silver if they're interested in that?
Yeah, and you can reach me either through my website or through the email address.
Okay, and what about that? What should they know about purchasing gold and silver? Right now is kind of a lull, I think, compared to what's probably coming, but also prices have spiked up recently. So,
prices spiked up, premiums spiked.
Yeah.
The premiums, not on gold. Gold is basically held, but the outlandish premiums on silver have just started to turn and shrink a little bit, just over the last week.
The outlandish ones from all the way from last year that were crazy?
No, from the SVB.
Oh, okay, from the recent.
I mean, if you look at some of the big online dealers like APMEX or SD Bullion or even Kitco was selling Silver Eagles for $50.
Really?
That's 100% premium.
Oh my! Yeah, that's a $20 plus premium.
Fair price now is like $41, $42.
That still seems high. What's the premium on that right
16, 17 over spot.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
But what I'm saying is that's softening, 50 cents, $1. They've softened a little bit in the last week.
Man, because I was buying silver not that long ago, like $3.50 over spot,
I can remember the day when we were buying junk silver at spot.
Yeah.
50 cents over spot. We were buying Eagles for $2.75 or $3 over spot.
Wow.
And maples would have been $2 or $2.25. You can't buy a 100-ounce bar now for less than $3.50 over spot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Do you recommend for some people are bars a decent option? I know it's much more difficult to work with.
Well, you can't use them.
Right.
All that is the only reason you would buy a 100-ounce bar or a kilobar or something like that would be to purchase it today, and you're looking to swap it later for gold or swap it for whatever currency comes out.
Right.
It's not usable. There's no the most functional silver there is junk silver.
Yes, which is what, pre 1964.
1964 and earlier.
Oh, okay, got it. And that is roughly what, about 90% silver content, or 90?
It's exactly 90%.
90%.
Silver content. Yeah.
Okay. But I heard that most of the junk silver was gone from the supply chain. I mean, it's hard to find.
It's more difficult to find.
Yeah.
And that's why it is the canary in the coal mine. I mean, when that dries up completely, and we've gone since SVB, call it 8 weeks, we've probably had junk available not even a quarter of the time, maybe 15 days.
Okay.
We've had junk available. I mean, we went a span of 3 weeks where we had no junk whatsoever.
Wow. Okay, that's wild.
So that is the canary in the coal mine, because there's no production.
Yeah.
The only availability is when an estate sells or somebody sells their silver.
Okay. All right. Well, Bill, I can't thank you enough for coming in and spending time with us. It's been a lot of fun, and I think people are learning a lot. And so the website, folks, is billholter.com. And I want to thank you, Bill, for coming in and taking the time. You have a lot of knowledge, and you have been correct again and again. And I think it's going to play out in much the way that you've described here. So I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And thank all of you for watching. Of course, this is brighttown.com. I'm Mike Adams, and you can repost this video on other channels and other platforms. Go ahead and do that, but just give a link to billholter.com. Give him credit for coming in. And hope you enjoyed this. We had a lot of fun, but covered a lot of serious topics. We always try to bring you the best right here on brighttown.com. Thanks for watching. God bless America. Today's interview is brought to you by healthrangerstore.com, and check out our silver mouthwash products. I've got a couple of them on my desk here. This is my favorite one, the citrus flavored colloidal silver mouthwash that's on the edges there. It's incredibly delicious. And then in the middle there is the Bugs Away spray, because, well, you know, it's springtime, a lot of bugs, and I can't even go walking outside without mosquitoes attacking me in Texas. So I use the Bugs Away spray all the time. Completely non-toxic, of course, no DEET, nothing like that. And with the mouthwash, let me show you on our website, we have a lot of different colloidal silver mouthwashes. We have different flavors. We have a cinnamon, and then we have this with iodine and zinc, different size packages. Again, the citrus is my favorite flavor, but there are other flavors to choose from. This one's just plain flavor. This is colloidal silver with cinnamon. This is rosemary and sage, and so on. So check all that out at healthrangerstore.com, and you'll find that we don't use any toxic ingredients, no synthetic garbage. It's all lab tested. It's all holistic. It's all natural health oriented, and we appreciate your support. healthrangerstore.com. All right, sorry to interrupt myself here. A little scheduling change. I'm going to delay the Dr. Tao Braun interview until this weekend. It'll probably publish either Saturday or Sunday. And I have some additional commentary here following my interview with Bill Holter that you just saw. Some very important things, in fact. But first, I just want to mention that the interview with Dr. Tao Braun it was longer than I had anticipated. It's a very intriguing interview. We talked about, you know, extraterrestrials and zombies and hormones and all kinds of stuff. Spike protein tranquilizers of humanity, like mass neurochemical suppression. It's a wild interview. It's really cool, because Dr. Braun is a really smart dude, and he gets it. He's a big picture thinker. So I want to give that its own episode here. And also, it was so long that if I included it in today's Brighttown broadcast here, it would make the whole thing probably 3 hours plus, which is just too much. So instead of the Dr. Braun interview here, let me offer you some commentary that I want to get in here following the interview with Bill Holter. Now, Bill Holter is he's a great sport. You know, he's got a sense of humor, believe it or not, and he allows me to inject a lot of humor as we're talking, bantering back and forth, even though what he's talking about is a very, very serious subject. And I completely agree with what Bill Holter is saying. It's kind of gallows humor that I do, kind of making jokes as the entire system is collapsing around us. I don't know. Maybe this is just the way I deal with it. I can't help it. But Bill Holter is he's able to go along with the humor and still get the important points across that need to be made. So I want to thank Bill Holter for being such a great guest in studio, and he's welcome back at any time. And his dog was awesome too. Got to meet his dog. Well, you saw his dog. So we are like, it's funny because we're two guys with two security dogs, both love gold, and both think the system is absolutely collapsing. And I think we're both right about that, actually. So very interesting times. But what I want to add to that is the fact that we are now adding, as a country, the United States of America is adding about $1 trillion to its national debt every 6 months right now, roughly, give or take a little bit. Do you recall when I said about a year ago, maybe it was a year, that we would be adding $1 trillion a year at first, and then it would be $1 trillion every 6 months? Remember that? And that's where we are now. And then it would be $1 trillion every 3 months, and that's coming. And then $1 trillion a month, and then $1 trillion a week, right? And then $1 trillion a day, whatever it takes. The hyperinflation scenario is well underway. They're going to destroy the currency. It is abundantly clear they're going to completely destroy the currency. And you're just watching that unfold in real time. The banks are cratering, and the tyranny in the financial sector is only getting worse. And what I really want to get across here is I hope you understand that your money, whatever you have, payroll money, asset money, savings, pensions, whatever, checking accounts, it's going to be increasingly locked down by whatever institution controls it. Maybe your pension, maybe Social Security, maybe a bank, what have you. It's going to be increasingly locked down to where you can't access it. Because if people are allowed to continue to access their own money, as this situation gets worse, more and more people are going to pull their money out of the failing banking system. It's the only rational thing to do to protect your assets, right? It's like, wow, this bank is failing. Maybe I should take my money and put it somewhere else. Even as Bill Holter said, maybe U.S. government treasuries, which are probably, as he said, safer than the banks at the moment for now. But in both cases, you're still losing purchasing power of the dollars, but at least your money is not just going to vanish in a bank collapse. And because of this, the powers that be are going to allow banks to put more and more restrictions on how you can move your money or how you can withdraw it or how much, daily limits, things that you're not allowed to use it for, such as, you can't wire money to buy gold, or you can't wire money to buy crypto, or maybe there's a daily limit on that. I think there already is in a lot of cases. So moving your assets around here and protecting them is going to require you to start now with all the homework that I mentioned before, all the on-ramps and off-ramps and all the mobility of your money, being nimble with your assets. There is no time to waste to accomplish that. Now, I've got to underscore this because, how to say this? As I look at this more and more, especially since the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, it is increasingly clear to me that the only kind of money that's going to ever be safe from government confiscation, government control, government tyranny is going to be money that governments don't control, i.e., money that banks don't control, money that central banks don't control, money that isn't national currency. And right now, as far as I can tell, there are really only two main categories of that kind of money. And it's either precious metals, physical gold and silver, or it's cryptocurrency. And cryptocurrency, I believe, and I've recorded a separate podcast on this, there are some incredible innovations underway that offer greatly enhanced privacy properties, for example, greatly enhanced scalability, greatly enhanced non-confiscatability, things like that, that I now believe are going to play a major pivotal role in the asset protection off-ramps out of the collapsing fiat currency systems and into other systems that actually function. So think of it this way. So if you have money in the bank and you're using the regular banking system, that is all an open book to the government. You could even call it an open blockchain, although that's not technically what it is. It's just a centralized ledger. But it's an open book. The government can see everything you do, and the government is increasingly restricting it and punishing you for things that you do. And those punishments are increasing the array of punishments. They might one day punish you for buying CBD oil or something. They might punish you for buying garden seeds, punish you for buying ammunition, punish you for buying gold, who knows? Or just punish you for buying food. Or they may limit you to how much food you can buy, or how much ammo you can buy, or how many guns you're allowed to buy, per year, like one a year, one handgun a year. Oh gosh, better make sure it's a good one. When you don't control your money, it's not really your money, because control is ownership, is it not? Control is ownership. So to the extent that you don't control your money, you don't own it. The government owns it. The government controls it, and the government allows you to use it in certain ways that are pre-approved by the government alone. And if you use it in ways that they don't like, i.e., you donate to the wrong cause, you donate to a pro-life movement, or you donate to a church, you donate to a Second Amendment Foundation, whatever the case may be, you're going to be severely punished. So the only form of money that will be immune to this, or the only forms, plural, will be, number one, money that the government can't spy on. So right away, that's not Bitcoin, because Bitcoin can be spied on. Bitcoin is an open ledger. Everybody knows what you've done through the whole history of your entire wallet. It's, like I've said before, it's like, frolicking nude through, Grand Central Station or something. It's like being a nudist in a city in the winter, where everybody notices, man, that dude's totally nude, and it's cold outside. And yeah, that's a Seinfeld joke in there for those of you who remember George saying, the water was cold. Okay, but moving on. So Bitcoin cannot qualify as a kind of money that will be useful when the government is engaged in mass confiscation, mass surveillance, and outright oppression based on your spending habits. Gold and silver can qualify because they can't spy on a piece of gold or a piece of silver. So if you have a pre-1965 silver quarter, let's say, so-called junk silver, and you run out to the local farmer's market and you buy something, I don't know, you're buying a loaf of homemade bread or something, non-GMO, non-pesticide bread, and you pay for it with, let's say, a silver quarter. The government doesn't know that you did that, because the silver quarter doesn't report back on a blockchain. There's no ledger for the quarter. It's a physical element, right? And you handed it over, and that's it. There's no RFID chip. There's no barcode in the quarter, right? That's a private transaction, and that quarter is fully fungible, meaning that every quarter is just as good as every other quarter, because there's no history, there's no baggage tied to that quarter. So the person who took that quarter from you, the bread maker, can now take that quarter and go buy something else entirely. And that second person accepting the quarter doesn't say, hey, where'd that quarter come from? They don't look at the quarter with a microscope and say, well, that quarter came from someone who sells crack or something. It doesn't work that way. The quarter has no history. That makes it actually good money, by the way. It's one of the properties of good money. No surveillance and full fungibility, meaning that every item of that system is exactly the same. A quarter is a quarter is a quarter, as long as we're talking about 90% silver pre-1965 quarters. Okay. In the cryptocurrency space, there are only certain coins that qualify as being, number one, not able to be spied on by the government, and also truly fungible, where every token or every coin is the same as every other coin because they don't have any baggage tied to them, because there's no history assignable to one specific coin or a fraction of a coin. There are only a few cryptocurrencies that qualify in this manner. It's a pretty short list. And I don't even like the term privacy coins, by the way, although I know generically that's a term that's used out there. But if you say how many privacy coins exist, some people might say there's maybe 30 of them, but a lot of them are just really kind of tokens or forks of other coins. They don't really have any new tech, that they're not really unique. And a lot of them are not even really secure in the sense that they don't invoke their privacy features most of the time, such as Zcash, for example. Zcash is mostly not used in its privacy mode. So it's kind of just an open blockchain for the most part, like 95% plus of the transactions on Zcash are open source, kind of like Bitcoin. But there are other coins that are privacy oriented, even if they don't call themselves privacy coins. They just have privacy features. They just have privacy properties and other sort of invoked algorithms like CoinJoin and so on, and Dandelion, things like that, that make it truly private. That's going to be the future of money for people who want to actually have control over their money. And here's what I see coming. As the banking system collapses, the government's going to increasingly control and limit what you're allowed to do with your money. As a result, they're going to squeeze people out of that system. More and more people will be looking for alternatives. Some are looking at gold and silver, but if you want to have transactions with people that you don't meet in a parking lot, let's say, you need a digital way to transact. So what we need to all, I think, locate, dig into, eventually embrace, all of us together, is we need to find the best decentralized finance solutions that are available, that are even maybe in development right now and on the edge of being available, that have these properties of true privacy, true fungibility, true non-confiscatability, durability, scalability, all these things that are critical to having money that you actually own because you control it. And I believe that as the system collapses and the restrictions, the crackdowns by governments are more and more intense, we're going to see more and more people around the world, and this is happening in African nations right now, by the way, and to some extent in South American nations. More and more people are going to say, wow, my government's money is freaking broken, and yet this money works, whatever this ends up being. I don't think that, quote, this is going to be Bitcoin, but I do think it's going to be a cryptocurrency that has more privacy features. And whatever that ends up being is going to be rather exciting. And of course, like I said, I'm digging into it and I'm trying to find out what that's going to be. And there are some candidates and there is some interesting stuff out there. And the world is just on the verge of desperately needing these kinds of privacy solutions that are independent. They're effectively off-grid. They are decentralized. And governments can't control them. They can't confiscate them. They can't even spy on them. As long as the laws of encryption work, which is math, unless you're going to break all math in the cosmos, or I don't know, maybe if you're going to invent a quantum computer that can break these codes, well, guess what? There are quantum resistant algorithms for encryption as well. So, even quantum computers can't necessarily spy on all this, and it's expensive for governments to build and run quantum computers, by the way. So it's not like they're going to use quantum computing to try to spy on, you buying ammunition or something for a few $100s with your crypto wallet. They're going to spy on Russia or China or Iran or something. That's how they're going to use the quantum computers. They've got bigger fish to fry, frankly. Now, Monero is one of the more mature coins in this space, and I'm learning more and more about Monero's anonymity system or math, and how they're using rings of wallet addresses to obfuscate, the who actually received the transaction and things like that. Admittedly, I still have more to learn about Monero. It is more mature. It's been around longer. It's more difficult to work with than Bitcoin or Litecoin or anything like that, because it has its own special blockchain that wallets that support it or exchanges that support it have to do a lot of extra steps in order to use it. But it offers much better privacy than Bitcoin or these other open coins, open blockchain coins. Epic Cash is one that I'm looking at, digging into, using the wallet, playing around with it, seeing what I can break, asking a bunch of questions. I've studied up on Zcash, learning more and more about the zero knowledge snarks and how Zcash adds this layer of zero knowledge around what is essentially a Bitcoin-like transaction, even a Bitcoin-like blockchain. So I don't claim to be the expert in all of this stuff, by the way, but I am making a legitimate effort to dig into it and to try to determine what's going to work, because I think time is running out. Time is running out for human financial freedom. And what the governments of the world are trying to do is to corral everybody into a slave system, to turn your money into the chains that bind your ankles and wrists, and to put you into a central bank digital currency, CBDC, where they have total surveillance, total control, total restrictions, automatic deductions, automatic fines, automatic taxation, geographic limits, you name it. And frankly, there are a lot of us who just won't use that system. So we're going to need something different. And what is that different thing? Well, again, the only two things that I can think of that qualify are precious metals and privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies or decentralized finance. Those are the two areas that make sense. So the collapse of the banking system may actually end up historically being something that pushed humanity in just by necessity in the direction of discovering the benefits of decentralized finance. I mean, wouldn't that be an amazing, chapter in history to say, hey, why did humanity embrace decentralized finance, and how did we achieve money privacy and money fungibility and free ourselves from the binds of corrupt, tyrannical, criminal government regimes? How do we do that? Well, the banks collapsed and we had to, right? It's like, well, got no choice. We all need to buy and sell and trade with each other in order to have a functioning economy, in order to have a civilization. So it's too clunky to just do everything physically in person and try to barter, 22 long rifle rounds with everybody. We need a system that is digital, that works remotely, that is private, that's rapid, that is decentralized, has no central servers, no central corporation, can't be seized and shut down. And guess what that is? Yeah, it's decentralized finance. It is cryptocurrency, some of which may end up being backed by gold, by the way. A gold-backed crypto, I know a couple of those that exist, like the Load project is out there right now. Some of these projects exist, and that engenders a lot of trust if people understand that they can trade in their crypto for gold or silver. For example, I don't know how much privacy surrounds those different projects. I don't know yet, but I'm learning more all the time, and I'll share that with you. My point is, we're approaching the end of the era where you could just have your money and use it the way you wished. That's coming to an end because the governments are becoming criminal tyrants. They are trying to exterminate humanity, and they're using financial enslavement as a means of control over the population, which means they're going to continue to crack down. There will be more bail-ins, there will be more bank freezes, more bank failures, more government confiscation, more taxation, more scoring systems, social credit scores, more rationing. And all of this means that that we need an alternative to the corrupt, broken money systems, the fiat currency systems that the governments of the world rely on. And since we have the right to buy and sell and trade with each other, including just if we want to write each other IOUs, well, we can write each other digital IOUs. And as long as we honor those IOUs, that's a system that we can use to trade with each other. There's nothing the government can do to shut that down. Now, probably what they'll try to do is incentivize people to use their central bank digital currency system, because they'll have universal basic income rewards. Like, here, sign up, mark of the beast, give us your palm print, and then you'll get free digital Fed bucks or whatever it is. Come on in, and you'll get $500 a month in free groceries on your Fed Now digital wallet mark of the beast credit system. And a lot of people will say, $500? Yeah. And they'll sign up for that, and they'll go shopping on that. And at first, it might help, but a couple years later, $500 won't even buy a loaf of bread. So what's the point? They just gave up their soul to be part of a system that's totally rigged against them anyway. It's a mass confiscation theft ring run by the central banks anyway. So for anybody who knows what's up, there's no point in going into a system like that. Even if they try to bribe you to use it, it's just not worth it. Instead, use systems of money that hold value, which are systems that do not allow unlimited printing of money, by the way, by definition. All right, so those are my thoughts on that subject. I want to give credit, by the way, to our gold and silver sponsor. If it's part of a solution for you, check out metalswithmike.com, and that will take you to the Treasure Island Coins and Precious Metals Company, which is a fantastic company, honest pricing, very competitive, discreet, insured delivery, and they do a great job. I interviewed the CEO, Chris Olson, just a week ago, roughly, and you can watch that interview on my channel on brighteon.com. But do your own research, and I think that you also need, of course, crypto literacy. You need a crypto wallet that functions. You need to understand how to move assets around. I talked about that most of this week. So I know it's a lot. We have to learn a lot of new skills, new terminology, new things right now. But I think it's critical to survive this financially. So thank you for listening. Mike Adams here, the Health Ranger, brighteon.com and naturalnews.com. A global reset is coming. And that's why I've recorded a new 9-hour audiobook. It's called The Global Reset Survival Guide. You can download it for free by subscribing to the naturalnews.com email newsletter, which is also free. I'll describe how the monetary system fails. I also cover emergency medicine and first aid and what to buy to help you avoid infections. So download this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you simply because I want like-minded people to survive.